Hi, everybody. I am so excited to be here with you on this Friday. Thank you for joining me. It's Friday. I had to check the date. It's Friday, October 9th, and we are going to talk all things Google Ad Grants today. But before we get started and before I introduce my special guest, I'm Julia Campbell. If you do not know me, then welcome to my page. Welcome to my Facebook Live. And I help nonprofits with their digital fundraising and digital marketing strategies. And I go live on Facebook pretty sporadically. I was just talking to my guest, Chris, saying I just kind of do it whenever I want. But thank you for joining me today and joining us today. And hopefully we'll be able to teach you a little bit about a topic that might have piqued your curiosity, but you just don't know where to start. So I want to first say a very special welcome to any Social Media for Social Good Academy students out there. If I have some Academy students, then please let me know in the chat and I'll give you a shout out. I also want to ask you a question. So I just want to tell you first that it's a beautiful fall day. I do want to know the weather where you are. We always share the weather because some of you are in gorgeous locations, like next to a pool and next to a beach. But the question that I want to ask you today, the little icebreaker question, please put it in the chat. What was your favorite Halloween costume that you ever wore as a child or even recently? What was your favorite Halloween costume that you ever wore? So I have two. One was in 1992. I went for Halloween as Hillary Clinton, and I wore a blue pantsuit and a little flag pin. And it was completely unironic, I promise you. So I just happen, if you know me, if you've ever followed me, anything that I do, you just know that I love Hillary. But I completely went as that, and my mom laughed at me because no one knew what I was. And I think my brother, that was his 10th year going as, Darth Vader. My second favorite costume was when I went as Laura Palmer from Twin Peaks, wrapped in a big plastic sheet. That was pretty awesome because I'm a huge Twin Peaks fan. So I want to hear from you. I want to know that you can see and hear and comment and that everything is working and that, kind of all the tech is working on my end. So just let us know you're here. Let us know where you're watching from. And hopefully you'll let us know your number one Halloween costume that you have ever worn. So once we get down to it, we're going to cover all things Google Ad Grants. That is the category for today. So the category is, how do we get started? How do we manage these? So you've heard that Google Ad Grants can help nonprofits reach more people and get more visibility. And in today's live session, you're going to be joined by a very special guest. You're going to join me and a special guest, Chris Barlow of Beeline Incorporated, for a breakdown. And we're going to answer all of your questions. He has some fantastic slides for you. And I want to pull them up on screen. Hi, Chris. How are you doing?
Doing great, Julia. Thanks for having me.
Oh, nice. Oh, I see some comments in the chat. There's always a little bit of a delay. Cinderella. Aw. Listening from Minnesota, watching from New York City. Oh, Susan says front end of an ice skating reindeer. I love that. That's really awesome. That has to be really hard. Well, I also wouldn't have wanted to be the back end, but I mean, hopefully you're good friends with that person. Atashi says a gypsy. Velma from Scooby-Doo. So that was going to be our family costume this year. And then time just got away from us. And also we're not going anywhere or doing anything. So we were going to do Scooby-Doo this year. So I'm kind of bummed about that. Pebbles' boyfriend was Bam Bam. That's amazing. Dee Dee was a Ninja Turtle and a sock hop girl. Oh, I absolutely love it. Alan. Hi, Alan. He was the Invisible Man, which I would love to know how you did that. I think that would be really interesting to see. Cheryl's with us from the Chicago suburbs. Casey, Maine. Oh, I love Maine. I'm in Massachusetts. Medusa. That is really cool. That is awesome. I would love to see that. A sumo wrestler. Oh my gosh, that must have been really amazing. That must have been really fun. Venice Italy. Whoa. Liesel from Venice, Italy. Awesome. Welcome. It's international. So, Chris, you were talking about your Halloween experience, but you still never told me your favorite costume.
I really liked Popeye, and I think
Yay!
that was because it was pretty simple. You just need the hat and the little white shirt
And the
and
tattoo and the can
the
of
corn cob
spinach.
pipe. That was my
The
favorite part
corn
of it.
cob pipe. Yes.
Um,
Nice.
my experience, I'm in Colorado, and this is where I grew up. And every year the weather in October was amazing,
It's amazing. Sure.
except many times, not every year, but most of the time, Halloween night is the first snow, and it's super cold, and you're wearing your winter jacket, and no one can see your costume.
Right. So I saw Krista. She said she went as Wonder Woman. I tried to go as Wonder Woman one year, but it was the year that we had the first snow on October 31st. And so I had to wear like a giant black coat, and everybody asked me if I was in the Matrix. I was like, yes, I'm Wonder Woman in the Matrix. That's fine. That is so funny. Oh, I love all of these. Calgary. Oh, and Dee Dee says I could see him being Popeye. Yay. I could totally see that too. My friend Amanda is completely obsessed with Popeye, like completely obsessed. So I'm sure she will like to see that. But thanks for sharing that with us, Chris. So if my audience is not as familiar with you, maybe tell me just a little bit about you, your company, and kind of how you started in nonprofit work.
Sure. Yeah. So like I said, I grew up in Colorado, lived in California for a number of years for school and afterwards, and have been back about 7. And I started my company 5 years ago, and have always been involved with nonprofits in some way. But in college, I was part of a club that helped local nonprofits, and so when I started this business, I just thought I'll offer to volunteer and serve a nonprofit with my marketing as I'm improving my skills in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of naturally grew from there, because as I was volunteering with them, they referred me to another nonprofit that they knew, and it kind of just has naturally grown from there. So I've been in sales and marketing for a long time, for 14 years. And so I understand both the sales side of things and the marketing side of things. And I think that helps me just kind of understand the importance of marketing driving results, and having it's not just about, branding has value, but there needs to be something measurable to it too. So
yes.
Anyway.
That leads us to our presentation. It's very, very measurable. So tell me about your company. What kind of services do you provide?
So yeah, I help nonprofits with different kinds of marketing. Google ad grants being one of the main ones. Google ads, Facebook ads, and I also do stuff like chatbots, or building landing pages, or email marketing, kind of as needed. Great. To support the campaign work that we're doing. And
yeah,
go ahead.
Yep. Oh no, I was just going to say you've generously offered a free ebook and a guide that I blew it and didn't upload to my website yet. But when I do, we will have it for you. So thank you for that. Sure. And how do you help nonprofits with ad grants? Do you help them get set up and everything you're going to talk about today?
Yeah, we can go into that. But basically, yeah, okay. I help with, if you just need help applying, I can do the application for you. We can run your campaigns, or we can just answer questions. Sure. If you guys if a nonprofit just needs support, we do that as well.
All right. Well, without further ado, I'm going to hide myself.
Okay, and let me. Do you have it set? When I click the screen button, Julia, it's not letting me share it. Here we go. Now I can't hear you, Julie. I don't know if you realize that. I'm happy to just get started.
Okay. So remember, we did this before, and then I just stopped my video. Okay. So now can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yay. All right. So can everyone hear and see these amazing slides? We're going to get started. We somehow got all, well, I'm not going to jinx anything. So I will give you the floor, Chris.
Right.
If you have questions for Chris, please ask them in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm really happy to interrupt and stop and answer questions as we go, but this isn't going to be long, so we'll leave time just to discuss this afterwards.
Perfect.
So, as many of you probably know, or have heard a little bit, Google Ad Grants provides $10,000 per month in free advertising through Google. These ads are not through Google Display or banner ads or YouTube ads. They're just search ads. And as probably you've seen, the ads appear at the top of the Google search results, above the organic ones. And when you are doing search ads, if you're not familiar, you're bidding on keywords. So you're picking keywords that might be relevant to your nonprofit and whatever the goal is that you're hoping to reach. So if you provide, say, pet adoptions, then that might be a keyword that you target. And anyone else who is targeting that same keyword, they're going to basically, like you, place a bid of what you're willing to pay per click. So you don't pay for the ads to show up, you just pay when someone actually clicks on your ad. The limitation with Google Ad Grants is that you can't bid more than $2. So if it's a bunch of nonprofits all bidding on the same keyword, then your ads are going to be fairly equal because no one's going to be able to bid higher than $2. If you have someone who's willing to pay for the ads, they can bid more than that, and so their ad will take prominence or preference. Up to 4 ads can appear at the top of the results, and then there can be some more at the bottom of the page. But the nice thing is, in the last few years, Google has allowed nonprofits to bid more than $2, as long as you basically you set your bid strategy to let Google determine what it should be, and you let Google's AI decide how much to bid based on your ad relevance and the previous how effective your ads have been for that particular keyword. If you've got a lot of people who are clicking and taking action on your site, then Google is saying, okay, this is a really relevant ad and a relevant result, so you can bid more than $2, and they will bid more for you. So that creates a lot of flexibility for grantees. Another nice thing you can do is you can run a paid Google campaign alongside the grant, which basically allows you to be super focused with those paid ad dollars. And you can say, okay, these are the most important keywords for us. These are the ones that are going to either really help us expand our mission or find new donors. And all the other peripheral keywords that we would love to show up for, we don't have to pay for. And so you can keep your ad budget really small and focused. So who can apply to Google Ad Grants? Basically, you have to be 501c3, and the categories of 501c3 are pretty much anyone. There's almost no one who cannot. There's just a few categories who are not eligible. If you're a government entity, if you're a hospital or medical group, or if you're in an academic institution, a university, a school, unfortunately, they cannot apply or get into the program. If you are a nonprofit that is under the umbrella of an academic institution, you can, as long as your activities and your mission are separate from the school itself. So there are a lot of ways that you can use Google Ad Grants. A lot of different benefits. You can get branding, get people familiar with who you are, with your mission. You can bring thousands of visitors to your site every month. You can get new leads, whether that's subscribers to your email list or helping people discover your mission, how you can serve them, new donors, in all kinds of ways we can define that, and I'll go into more detail. And then finally, you can use Google Ad Grants, bringing people to your site. You can tag them and use that to remarket to them. So if you want to run a fundraiser on Facebook, like an online fundraiser, well, you don't want to target people who've never heard of you. So instead of just doing ads to people who you think might be interested in your nonprofit, you can just focus those ads on people who've been to your site. And you can bring those people to your site for free with Google Ad Grants. And then your retargeting dollars that you spend on Facebook ads, for example, can be much more focused and effective and relevant. So here's some ideas that you could do as a nonprofit, and specific goals you could set. You could have a fundraiser, whether a walk, run, or a virtual fundraiser, and you just want to get more people to attend. Well, you can grow your email list and then invite them to that fundraiser. You can let people know about the program, services, or events, and help them to sign up for those events, or to make an appointment, or to find out how they can make use of those services or programs or products that you're offering to them. You can advertise your podcast that you run, or maybe you have a YouTube channel that you can link to, and you can get new subscribers for those. If you have a webinar or an online course that you want people to sign up for, you can run ads and send people to your site to let people know about that. And of course, you can do donations. And there are a number of there's a couple of software online donation software that are white labeled by Google Ads, which means you can send people, instead of to your own website, you can send people to that software page that you have to get direct donations.
So Chris,
yeah.
So it's important, I think, for my audience especially, to know that you do not want to just send your Google ad to your homepage.
Yes.
Because nobody knows what you want them to do. And often a website looks like a brochure that I have to sift through and read. So, you need to have a very specific call to action or a landing page, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
And we have one question. Oh, but yeah. you can go
No, go for it. What's the question?
Elaborate more on that. But I do think that's key, because I always tell, especially with social media marketing, don't just send people to your homepage. Tell them exactly what you want them to do and where you want them to go.
Yeah.
So Dee Dee asks, does the nonprofit have to submit an ad in order to receive a grant?
So I was going to get into that a little bit later, but the great news is that Google has simplified the process, the application process. And it used to be that you had to apply, you had to be TechSoup, Google for Nonprofits, and then you create a campaign and you submit it for review. And just in the last couple of weeks, Google has changed that. You essentially, I'll explain the application process in brief, but essentially you do not have to submit a campaign for review.
Awesome. And then one other question so far, Catherine says, what are those white labeled companies? And then I will go away.
One of them, the only one I know of off the top of my head, I know there are more, is Kindful. That you can run. You can send people directly to a Kindful donation page. But there are more.
Okay, great.
Yes, and to your point, Julia, yes, because you want people. Not only do you want people to take action, so sending people to your homepage is a good way for them to get lost. If you send them to a page that's specific, a specific landing page, a specific page on your site, the better it's related to the keyword they searched and to the ad you showed them, the more likely they're going to have a good experience. The more time they're going to spend, the more likely they'll take an action, whether that's to sign up or whatever your goal might be. Mm-hmm. That's the nice thing about Google Ad Grants, is because you can target every keyword you can think of, as long as you have something on your site that will answer to that keyword. It's not good practice just to be like, target every keyword that is possible if you don't actually have content or something on your site that's going to connect to that search that someone's made. Because that as a user, that wouldn't be a good experience. And also Google doesn't like that. They can tell if someone clicks and then bounces right away, then they're going to, and that's a pattern, they're going to say this keyword's not relevant for you and you shouldn't be advertising for it.
Okay.
So, so just to give a little bit more, tell a little bit more, some stories of nonprofits that are how they're using Google Ad Grants, and maybe get your brain moving in terms of how you guys could, what kind of results you could get, and get a little excited about it. I want to share 3 stories of nonprofits, and they're very different, different fields, different sizes, just to kind of show that there is a range of nonprofits who can take advantage of it. So there's an anti-human traffic organization that we're working with, and their goal is branding and volunteers. And they're brand new to Google Ads. They have had no experience with paid or grants. And so we, thankfully, one thing that came from the pandemic is they want volunteers, but they're entirely virtual. And so these volunteers can come from anywhere, and they're able to cast the net really wide, and they're not just looking for local volunteers. And so we are able to target ads, target keywords for people looking for internships or jobs. And we made it very clear in the ad, this is a volunteer opportunity. So people knew they weren't being fooled by us targeting those keywords. Like, hey, this isn't a job opportunity, but we can give you valuable experience for your resume. We can be a good reference for you. You can get this internship while you volunteer with us. And so, so we were able to like show how we can help them, and we can work together. And within 10 days, we had 4 volunteers, and we actually had to pause that campaign, because we just had too many. We didn't want any more at the time, and we can turn it back on when that need comes. And so the second goal with branding, just bringing people to our site, getting them aware of our mission and who we are. Within 60 days, we were spending 8,000 of that 10,000 grant, and getting thousands of visitors. Not every nonprofit is going to be able to spend that 10,000, and that's okay. If you can only spend 500 of it, if you can only spend 1,000 of it, because of your your reach and your scope of your nonprofit, that's okay. If it's worthwhile, if it's getting results that you're looking for, then it's okay. Then it's still a success if you can't spend all 10,000. So I just want to give that caveat and that expectation. It really depends on your scope whether you can spend that entire amount. So the second nonprofit I want to talk about is a local health clinic. They're small. They serve in underprivileged neighborhoods, and they provide medical services. They were not new to Google Ads entirely. They had a paid campaign, but they had never tried Google Ad Grants. And their goal was to help people find the kind of services they offered to their neighborhood, and help them come to the site and make an appointment if they had a need. And so within 6 months, Google Ad Grants was bringing them to about 25 appointments, up to 35 appointments per month. And this is all free advertising for them. And just again, to contrast to the first one, these guys they're not national. They aren't advertising everywhere. They're just advertising within their own city. And the last one is a organization that provides parenting resources. They help parents just with discipline, with sibling conflict, how to handle the everyone's at home, and
Right.
You've got to work, and you've got kids in school, like just all kinds of different resources, podcasts, online courses, blog, ebooks. And they'd tried Google Ad Grants in the past, and it didn't really go anywhere. And their goal was to just get new subscribers. Their subscribers are the people who they serve, and they're to their email list. They're constantly sending out new resources or links to their blog, those kinds of things. And every year they do some online course launches. And within 7 months of revamping their Ad Grants account, they were getting about 5,000 visitors to the site and 300 to 350 new subscribers per month. And the cool thing is they can take those subscribers and continue to serve them and further their mission. But a lot of their subscribers also become donors, because when they do these online courses that do cost something, they offer very generous scholarships for anyone who requests one. And so they'll have parents in other countries, in third world countries, who just can't afford it. And then they let their subscribers know, hey, we're getting parents, here's their story. and this is how we're helping them, and we're continuing to give out scholarships like this. And if you can afford to help, please consider donating and supporting other people who are in your shoes and who how they feel. So just wanted to give those 3 stories of very different scopes, and how they're using Google Ad Grants right now.
Okay, I think actually you might answer all of these questions in this next section, but
Okay.
there were a few questions that came in.
Yeah.
Melissa says, for some reason, I thought the landing page was very restricted and can only be the domain registered with Google for nonprofits and could only be the homepage. This is the main reason we haven't looked into this before.
So the only thing that you have to have is the top level domain. If you can use a different subdomain. So instead of www, you could, if you have a different subdomain like help dot whatever your main domain is, and then / whatever. So you can send them to any page within that's using your top level domain. You can also, if you have a different site or different websites, you can also, there's a simple application form that you could submit to Google once you're in the program and say, hey, I have some other domains. Can I get these approved to use?
Okay. Nancy says, does this work well with Giving Tuesday campaigns? I would think it would, but I don't know.
Yes. The one limitation is you're going to have a lot of people who are advertising for Giving Tuesday. So
who's trying to rank for those 2 words, right?
Yeah, and people are going to be paying for those, and so your ad grants your ads might not show up because if there's a lot of competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the best thing to do is to be building your email list
before Giving Tuesday.
Email, beforehand, and then use your email to let people know about Giving Tuesday, and social media, of course.
We have a couple of questions about your services, and I posted a link to your website. So we will definitely give Chris's email at the end if you want to contact him. Dee Dee says, do you add in the keywords when you apply for the ad grants?
You do not. That used to be part of the process, but now you just you're basically proving to Google 2 things: that you're a nonprofit, and you fit under the eligibility requirements, and then you understand Google Ad Grants and Google Ads. And their definition of understanding is very basic. You have to watch you fill out a survey and you answer questions about what your goals are, what kind of marketing you do now, how you plan to do it, whether you plan to do it yourself, to hire someone, whatever. And then you have to watch a 5-minute video on Google Ad Grant basics. And I think that's it. And then you just complete the survey. Then there's no setting up your account or putting in keywords or anything like that.
Okay. I'm just going to take one more question and then I'll let Chris finish his presentation, and then we'll take many more at the end. Is this available outside the US? I am in Canada.
Yes, it is. I don't know all the restrictions in other countries, but it is. It's
perfect.
Global program.
All right. Now we're going to learn about applying. All right. So thank you.
Yeah. So applying, the question whether I should apply is basically one of, there are a lot of different ways that you can market your nonprofit. There's a lot of different options you have. And where are you going to spend your limited time and money? And so Google Ad Grants is not for every nonprofit. It's not going to work well for everyone. So that is the consideration you have to take into account. And really the simplest way I can answer that question for you is to just give you this link, and it's going to be in the chat too. You can just take this quiz and it'll quickly tell you, yes, you're eligible. And then 2, you won't be able to continue if you're not eligible. And then if you are, you can just answer a few questions about your nonprofit, what kind of marketing you do, your reach, and then it'll give you a range of results. It'll say, no, this isn't going to be a good program for you, or maybe soon, if depending on as you grow, or this will work for you. This should get you some results. This will be great, or you should already be doing this. This is going to be exceptional. So kind of give you a range. But essentially, it has to do with what other kind of marketing are you doing, or do you have a really good website? The more content you have on your website, the more you can get from Google Ad Grants. The larger your reach, either for your mission or for your donor base, the more you can get from the program. Those are some of the bigger categories to consider. And if you have any other specific questions about that, I'm happy to answer them. And then again, regarding the application process, it's basically 3 parts. You need to be registered with TechSoup. And once you're verified and registered with TechSoup, you go to Google for nonprofits. If you just Google that phrase, you'll find their site and you can sign up. It's a very easy application process, and you need to have your TechSoup validation token. And that's who Google is using to verify that you're a nonprofit. And then once Google approves you into that, you can then apply for Google Ad Grants. And the entire application process, if you're not even registered with TechSoup, probably will take you less than an hour. It could take an hour, and then up to like a week, because once you've submitted an application, you're waiting for these organizations to verify you. So it's become a much easier process than it used to be. Again, just a few weeks ago, I would have said it was a 3-week process and would take 3 to 4 hours of your time at least. It's very easy compared to typical grants, grant writing, but it wasn't like just a snap of the fingers. Now I think it almost is. So that's all I have. So I would love to open it up for questions, and we can go from there.
Oh, I muted my microphone. Thank you so much. That was fantastic. And we do have quite a few questions coming in. So I think that was a really great overview. I see some questions about, how do I know if Google Ad Grants is right for my specific nonprofit? So I would encourage you to take that quiz, and then also, reach out to Chris if you have even more specific questions. So Susan had a really good question, and it's kind of very broad. Why do organizations fail? I'm assuming fail with ad grants. So maybe what are some of the biggest pitfalls that we could avoid? And I'll just keep that up there.
Picking a bunch of keywords that are not relevant. Like they might be somewhat relevant, but if you don't have content or anything that will provide a result that someone's looking for in that unstated question or problem that then you're not really helping them. If you don't have a specific goal in mind, again, like you said, Julia, I think the number one thing is if you just send people to your homepage, I think you can do that.
But what is that worth to you? Exactly. Website traffic is really not worth anything if they don't actually convert into a subscriber or donor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the main things I see fail. There's some structure stuff inside when you're building campaign. Like, for example, I can explain this one quickly and easily. When you create an ad, it's called an ad group. And that's just a group of related keywords that you use that you're going to show 1 or 2 ads for. And so if all of those keywords are closely related, that's a good practice, and that's going to lead to a better experience. But if you have 50 keywords in one ad group, and you're showing the people who search for any of those 50 keywords, the single ad, well, then the ad's not going to really be related to what they searched. And so the closer you can match the ad itself with what they searched, the better.
Yes.
And I often find that for a lot of clients, campaigns, I recommend doing the first ad headline to actually match almost the same as what they searched. And then
use the words that they're using.
Yes. Because this isn't like a social media ad where someone's going to see a video and get really engaged. It's like, how you use Google. You do the search, and then you make a split-second decision about which result looks like you're the one that's relevant to you. And you're not analyzing the ad copy. You're just
and there's not an image really to grab your interest like in social media.
Which is actually that makes it more possible to do. You don't need a graphic designer, you don't need video, you just need to write.
So Laurel says, if you aren't approved, can you reapply?
Yes.
Okay. Catherine says, can you talk a little bit more about remarketing and how that works? Is it just a feature that you'd select when detailing your target?
So you can do remarketing inside Google Ads or inside, other platforms. For example, in what I said earlier about doing like social media ads, like Facebook ads, you need to have your Facebook pixel on your site.
Mhm.
And so when you send people to your site, Facebook will tag them and put them into basically a container or an audience. And then when you're inside Facebook, you can say, I want to run this ad to everyone who's been to my site in the last X number of days, 30 days, 15 days, 6 months, whatever you want to say.
Mhm.
And you can also create, with Google, the rules for when you can retarget are a lot more strict. You need a much larger amount of people who've been to your site before you can retarget them.
Okay.
With Facebook, you just need like 100, or it's really small.
Right. So it's like cookies. It's like when you go to Target and that one t-shirt follows you across the internet. All right. So how do we apply for TechSoup? Or do we have to? If you apply for Google Ad Grants, it'll walk you through that, I'm assuming?
It will not walk you
Oh,
through the
okay.
TechSoup
Oh,
application.
okay.
You need to just go to TechSoup itself. In the guide that we can put on your site,
Yep.
it shows you how to apply the TechSoup. It's really easy. I mean, you're just filling out your basic nonprofit information and showing who you are and that you're a registered valid nonprofit. And
Yep.
and then there's a specific place on the TechSoup website that you can grab that validation token, or if you don't have one, you can request one. They can give you one.
I'm going to put the link. I just Googled TechSoup validation token, and I'm going to just put the link in there. So you can check out TechSoup. It's TechSoup.org, and there's a specific link for validation tokens. Okay, Frederick says, how can a church use the grant?
Churches can use it just like anyone else.
Mhm.
So you can, let people know about your services or provide content for the kind of life questions that people might be asking. I think that would be better. Like, don't try to, like, you can advertise your services, of course, but do that on like Saturday or Sunday or whatever day of the week your church meets.
Yep.
But like, better, because you can target any keywords, target the kind of keywords for the kind of life questions that people are going to be asking, and that maybe you have videos or articles or a blog or anything that can help give people answers, and kind of you can build a relationship with them that way, rather than just saying, hey, come to us. And especially in these days when it's going to any kind of religious gatherings are going to be virtual.
Yep.
A lot more
Yeah,
valuable.
that I see. You can. I would advertise, like you said, on Sunday or Saturday or Friday night or whenever your gatherings are. I mean, I know, like, we go to the Unitarian Universalist, and all of the sermons on Sunday are virtual. So you could advertise that and even reach a wider audience.
Yep.
Okay, so some of these questions are technical. I will try to answer these later. Okay. The recording will be available. It's on Facebook. So once the broadcast stops, there'll be like a 10-second little like zhuzh, and then the recording will be available in this exact space, in this exact location. Okay. Can you say more about the user experience? Oh, for instance, will they feel stalked by our nonprofit? Like the remarketing, the retargeting.
Oh, with remarketing. That's why I recommend, I didn't say this, but when I do remarketing, I try to keep it, like if I'm targeting people who were on the site, I keep it short. I don't do more than 30 days, because if someone doesn't take an action after 30 days, you let them go. You're just going to be bothering them.
Yes.
It isn't stalking if people, again, it depends on your kind of approach. Are you like hounding them for a donation, or are you offering them a resource, and or showing how you help and getting them excited about your mission? Or
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic point, because we're getting into year-end giving season. And if I have not heard from you all year round and you send me 5 emails on Giving Tuesday, I'm going to unsubscribe.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, I'll probably forgive you because I probably love you, but that's when the stalking or the harassing or the spam comes in. If it's not something that I'm willing to pay attention to, if it doesn't offer me some kind of value,
Right.
and if it doesn't, and especially with Google Ad Grants, what I'm searching for, because we all know in this consumer driven environment, I'm going to go to Amazon. If I don't find instantly what I'm searching for, I get really mad. I mean, that's just the reality right now. If I go to Grubhub and I look up Mexican food and I don't immediately find it, that's what that's the reality. So I think you're not going to be stalking people if you're giving them things that they are searching for and actually looking for. And yeah, if it's a donation campaign with a really provocative video or a provocative, photo that's following them around the internet, that's one thing, but giving them the information that they want. But I wanted to make another point around the terms that people use, because in the nonprofit sector, we get very hung up on terms and the terms that we like to use. So an example is when I was a development director at a domestic violence shelter and we had Google Ad Grants and we were running a campaign to try to get people to call the hotline for Domestic Violence Awareness Month and beyond. And the nomenclature says that you should say intimate partner violence because it's more inclusive and it's more accurate than domestic violence. The problem is nobody searches for intimate partner violence. They search wife abuse, spouse abuse, wife beating, domestic violence, terms that make my stomach turn and all of our stomachs turn. But if we wanted to reach the right people, we really had to, I mean, I'm not saying you should use racist or offensive terms, but it might be a term that, you're so close to it, you don't know what people are really searching for. So I would do a little bit of research within Google AdWords. That's just a little piece of advice.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So actually, Laurel, that you might want to say more on this, but she says for choosing words, is it best to be fairly specific and niche?
The answer is yes, except you want volume too. So you have to kind of do both. And the nice thing about, so if you're doing a paid campaign, you're going to pick the keywords that are going to most likely get you the results that you're looking for. And so you may not pick some of those niche terms that might not exactly represent the ideal person you can help or the ideal donor. But for grants, you can target all of them. Why not? As long as you have something you can provide. I wanted to speak one real quick thing to what you're saying, Julia, regarding the Giving Tuesday and asking. I love the analogy of an emotional bank account. And I think this applies in relationships too, but it's like, are you making deposits in your subscribers, in your donors' emotional bank account? And if you're doing that through the year, then when you ask, you're making a withdrawal. But if you've been making deposits, there's going to be plenty of goodwill, and they won't mind it at all. It's when there's nothing in the balance and you're trying to make a withdrawal, then you're going to get people who are unsubscribing.
Yep, I completely agree. So we have a couple more questions. Dee Dee says, once an ad is posted, how long will it stay on Google? Do we need to reapply for a grant at a certain point?
The answer is forever, as long as your campaign and account is doesn't get deactivated by Google. It can be deactivated basically if you stop meeting certain requirements. You have to maintain a certain level of performance, and that is basically for every 100 people who see your ad, at least 5 people need to click on the ad itself, and that's across all the different ads, the average. And you get some time. It's not like Google is like immediately turns you off, but if you stay underneath that 5% threshold, then you will get a warning and they'll give you some time to fix things. There's some other performance things you have to maintain, but otherwise forever. And once you hit that $10,000 limit, your ads will just stop showing for that month, if you happen to be able to do that. And it's actually, what it actually is $329 per day. So once you hit that $329 limit for the day, then your ad will stop showing that day.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
And if you
that sounds good. So it's spreading it out a little bit.
Yes. If you have the wonderful problem of spending that entire amount, then what you do is you start focusing on where are the keywords that are spending a lot of our budget, but that aren't turning into leads, that aren't turning into the result we want. Right. And then you can pause those keywords, or you can do stuff to make sure that they're not eating up all that budget.
Okay, so we're going to try to get to all these questions. I only want to go for about 5 more minutes, but where is the one that I had? It was about the national organization. Oh, do you have any recommendations for national organizations to avoid bounces by people looking for their local branch? Maybe send them to a directory?
Ooh,
I don't know.
really good question. You can do negative keywords. So you can put, like, if you're a national organization and you don't want people from, I'm just going to use Denver, you don't want people looking for United Way Denver, for example, then you put Denver as a negative keyword. That's one way you could do it. And then vice versa. If you're the local branch and you don't want the national branch stuff to come up, then you just make sure that the geographic area you're targeting is going to be relevant for people looking for your local branch.
And Amy has a fantastic question. Can people see what words we're using? Like what? I don't think so.
Nope.
No.
So that's the nice thing. Like what you were saying, Julia, is targeting those kind of keywords we don't want to think about, or other kinds of keywords. Like, no one can see that you're targeting those keywords. They see the ad. Mm-hmm. So you're in your ad, you can say things the way you want to say them, as long as it's relevant to what you think that, the searcher will find your ad relevant.
And Sue, how many ad campaigns can you run at the same time?
I mean, you could split that $329 per day up however you want, under as many different ad groups and campaigns as you want.
Yeah, I think it'd just be really complicated to try to run 50 campaigns,
yeah.
Especially unless you're hiring somebody to do it for you. I think that would be very, very hard. All right. So the last question is from Susan. And then if you do have other questions, I will share Chris's email and website with you. But this was fantastic. Are the analytics complicated to follow? We'd want to know which ads we've tested are working. I think Google Analytics is not that complicated, but there's a learning curve there.
Yes. And inside the Google Ads Manager, there's a little bit of a learning curve too, to see which ads are working. Mm-hmm. But it's not something you couldn't. I think the harder thing is to learn the strategy. I think it can be done. Yeah. I do want to add that kind of is for any nonprofit. If you take the quiz, or if you figure out, yes, this could actually help us, just realize that you don't have to hire someone. You don't have to become an expert. You could do it yourself. It's not going to be optimized necessarily, but you can, if you get $500 a month in free ads and you're getting something for that, the time you spent, then it's worth it. And it's okay if it's not perfect. Mm-hmm. If you're spending money on the ads, then you need to make sure they're optimized.
Yep.
But yeah, so you can spend a little bit to go back to your question, Susan, you can go spend a little bit of time, like watch a couple YouTube videos, learn what the different terminology is and what they mean. And then that can give you enough information to know.
To be dangerous.
Yeah, to be dangerous. That's exactly it.
This was wonderful. Carol says, nice having lunch with you. It was nice having lunch with all of you. And this was absolutely fantastic. Great overview, but still very detailed. And the questions were really wonderful. So I really appreciate you giving us your time today, Chris. I know that you're busy. I know you have little ones and you're busy running a business. But where can we reach you? This is your email. Where's the best place to reach you online?
There, or you can reach me on Twitter. It's Beeline_Chris.
Beeline _Chris. Okay. That is your Twitter. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. And am I going live next week? I don't even know. No, my next Facebook Live will be October 23rd, when I will be talking to Erica Wasdorp about how to build your monthly giving program using social media. So that's going to be a really great one. So save the date, mark your calendars, October 23rd. Until then, everyone have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy. And I will talk to you soon. Take care.